Welcome to the deep dive. If you've ever found yourself wide awake at 3 a.m., just, staring at the ceiling, the house is totally quiet, it's dark, and suddenly you're just awake. It's a really specific, kind of frustrating feeling.
It is, and it feels so isolating, doesn't it? It often
Right.
feels completely random.
Yeah, random is exactly the word.
And that feeling, that randomness, that's really what we want to dig into today. Our deep dive here is all about showing you that waking up at 3 a.m. is, well, it's almost never just arbitrary. It's more like a message. Your body's actually trying to tell you something specific.
A message. I like that framing.
Yeah. And our goal is to uh, unpack the science behind these messages and really importantly, give you some practical solutions. We want to help shift that feeling from, just frustration towards understanding
hmm
and maybe even feeling a bit empowered about it.
That sounds much better than just being annoyed in the middle of the night. Because I think so many of us, myself included probably, have just sort of shrugged it off, thought, oh, well, I'm getting older, or guess I'm just a bad sleeper now.
hmm That's a really common thought.
But you're saying neuroscientists have found actual, biological reasons, specific things going on.
That's precisely it. It's not just vague. It's not about willpower, really.
Right.
When we consistently wake up around that same time, like 3 a.m., there are usually three main biological drivers behind it.
Okay.
And understanding them, really getting what your body might be communicating. Well, that's the crucial first step to finding a real solution that lasts.
Okay, let's start unpacking then. What's the first big biological reason our body might be, hitting the alarm clock way too early?
Well, the first reason is often tied to a hormone that most people think of with stress.
Yeah.
But maybe it's better to think of it as your body's natural wake-up hormone.
Yeah.
We're talking about cortisol.
Cortisol. Right. So how does that hormone, the stress one, end up waking us up at 3 a.m. when we should be deeply asleep?
Well, it's interesting. Your body is actually designed quite brilliantly to release a big surge of cortisol every morning, naturally, usually around, say, 6 or 7 a.m.,
Right.
around dawn. And that surge is what gently pulls you out of deep sleep. It gives you that first bit of energy, helps you feel alert,
Mhm.
ready for the day. It's totally healthy, totally necessary, part of your daily rhythm.
Driven by our internal clock, right?
Exactly, the circadian clock.
Mm.
But the challenge comes, especially as we get a bit older, or maybe if we've built up a lot of stress, or our schedules are all over the place, that natural rhythm can get out of sync. It gets sort of miscalibrated.
So the alarm clock that's supposed to go off around sunrise starts ringing, what, hours early?
Precisely, yeah. Instead of that helpful surge happening when you need it, your body starts that wake-up process way too soon, often 3 or 4 in the morning,
Mm.
so you jolt awake. And what often happens right after that, your mind just starts racing.
Oh, yeah. The to-do lists, the worries.
Right. All the anxieties about the day. But see, that's not you just overthinking in the dark. That's actually the cortisol doing its job.
hmm
It's just 3 hours too early.
Huh. It's the right hormone, wrong time.
Exactly. Wrong time.
I can definitely see how that would feel like sudden anxious wakefulness then. So if our body's clock is messed up like that, what's the best way to start fixing it? To reset it?
Well, the most powerful tool for this is, maybe surprisingly, super simple. It's accessible to everyone. And it's completely free.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
It's morning sunlight, getting natural daylight into your eyes.
Just sunlight. How does that work?
You need about 10 to 15 minutes of natural daylight,
Mm.
ideally within the first hour after you wake up. And this bit's important. No sunglasses.
No sunglasses.
And
Okay.
try not to be behind a window if you can help it, because glass filters out some of the important light wavelength. That bright morning light hitting your eyes sends this incredibly powerful signal straight to your brain's master clock. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a tiny spot in the hypothalamus.
Wow.
And that signal basically says, okay, this is the correct time to be awake. Let's reset that cortisol surge for this time tomorrow. It literally recalibrates your system.
It's amazing that something as simple as light can talk to our brain chemistry so directly. Do you have an example? Someone who actually used this?
Oh, absolutely. I remember talking with a woman, Carol. For years, she woke up just filled with anxiety, 4 a.m. on the dot. Every single day. It was awful for her.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
She started this really simple ritual. She just took her morning tea, coffee, out onto her porch for about 15 minutes.
Hmm.
Didn't matter if it was sunny or cloudy, just being outside in the natural daylight.
Mm-hmm.
She told me after just about 2 weeks, she started sleeping later,
Mm-hmm.
little by little. Her wake-up time shifted naturally. She felt like she finally got control back after maybe a decade.
Wow.
She put it perfectly. She said she was using light to talk to her body. and her body listened.
Mm.
It reset that cortisol timing.
That's a fantastic story and so practical. Something anyone can try, really. But okay, what if someone wakes up early, but it doesn't feel like anxiety? What if it's more physical, like feeling a bit shaky, maybe? Or their heart's pounding, a little sweaty sometimes?
Ah, that's a great distinction. And that brings us right to the second major reason for these 3 a.m. wake-ups.
Hmm.
It's one that often gets missed. In this case, you're probably not being woken by stress or that
Mhm.
early cortisol exactly. You're likely being woken up by unstable blood sugar.
Blood sugar. But wait, how can the food I ate hours ago wake me up at 3 a.m.? That seems,
Yeah.
yeah, counterintuitive. I haven't eaten in ages by then.
It does seem counterintuitive, I know. But it's surprisingly common and
Mhm.
quite powerful.
Yeah.
Think about it. Lots of us have a snack in the evening, right?
Yeah. Crackers, maybe a cookie.
Exactly. Or a bowl of cereal, piece of toast maybe.
Yeah.
Often those are pretty high in sugar or refined carbs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you eat them, your blood sugar spikes up pretty fast. Then your body releases hormones, mainly insulin, to bring that sugar back down into a normal range. But here's the thing. As we get older, our body's response isn't always as precise. Sometimes it sort of overcorrects, pushes the blood sugar down too much.
Okay.
So maybe around 2 or 3 in the morning, hours after that snack, your blood sugar levels can actually crash too low. Hypoglycemia, basically.
And what does the brain do when it senses that crash? Is it trying to wake me up?
Oh, absolutely. It sees low blood sugar as a serious emergency.
Yeah.
It's like a potential threat to survival. Its number one job is to get that glucose level back up fast.
Right.
So to do that, it floods your system with more wake-up hormones. This time, it's a double whammy. Another shot of cortisol and adrenaline.
Adrenaline, too. Wow.
Yep. These hormones signal your liver to dump stored glucose into your bloodstream quickly, get your sugar levels back up. But they also make you wide awake, heart pounding, maybe feeling shaky, a bit anxious, maybe even clammy.
And you have no idea why it's happening.
Exactly. You're just suddenly awake and maybe feeling weird. But the root cause, it was probably that innocent-seeming snack from 5 or 6 hours before, triggering this whole survival response cascade.
Wow. Okay, that connects a lot of dots. Do you have a story for this one, too? Someone who experienced this?
I do, yeah. A man named George came to me. He was just completely baffled. Woke up 3:30 a.m., like clockwork, wide awake. Turns out, his habit for years was a big bowl of cornflakes right before bed. He thought it was light, comforting.
Seems harmless enough.
I suggested he try an experiment. Just for a few nights. Instead of the cereal, try a small handful of almonds and maybe 1 spoonful of plain Greek yogurt.
Okay, something with protein and fat.
Exactly. He was pretty skeptical. Didn't think such a small change could do anything. But he tried it.
Mm.
The very first night, he slept straight through until 6 a.m.
No way. First night.
First night. He called me, absolutely stunned, said he'd found a miracle cure.
Huh. That's great.
Well, it wasn't really a miracle, right? It was just the effect of keeping his blood sugar stable through the night with that balanced snack. No big spike, no big crash.
So the answer isn't necessarily skipping snacks, it's choosing the right kind of snack. That feels important.
Precisely. It's not about going to bed hungry, not at all. It's about choosing something low in sugar, with a good balance of healthy fat and protein. Those nutrients digest slowly. They provide a nice, steady release of energy, preventing those big swings in blood sugar. Keeps things stable so you can stay asleep.
So like nuts, peanut butter.
Yep. A small handful of walnuts is great, a spoonful of peanut butter, even a few slices of apple with a piece of cheese, or like George did, a little plain full-fat yogurt. Those kinds of snacks really support sustained sleep.
This is really illuminating. Okay, so we've got the hormone clock, cortisol, we've got the blood sugar clock. What's the third main reason we might be waking up like this? Is this where melatonin fits in?
Yes, exactly. This is where melatonin takes center stage. It's our third key reason for those early wake-ups. It has to do with the natural decline in melatonin production. We often call it the hormone of darkness.
Right.
It's something many people have heard of, maybe even tried supplements for. But we often don't quite grasp how our environment dramatically impacts our natural melatonin.
So what's melatonin's main job? Is it like a sleeping pill that just knocks you out?
No, not really. That's a
Okay.
common misunderstanding. Melatonin isn't like a heavy sedative. It's much more subtle. Your brain starts making it naturally when your eyes sense the light fading when it gets dark outside.
Okay.
Its job is to send a gentle signal to your whole body, basically saying, okay, it's nighttime. Time to start winding down. Prepare for sleep.
Mhm.
It helps lower your core body temperature, encourages things to slow down. It sets the stage for good, restorative rest.
So what's the problem then, especially with waking up early?
The core issue, particularly as we age, is simple. Our bodies just don't produce as much melatonin as they used to when we were younger,
Ah.
which means that signal that, hey, it's nighttime, stay asleep signal, it gets weaker. It's like the dimmer switch has been turned down quite a bit.
So even if you fall asleep okay at the beginning of the night.
Right. Even if falling asleep isn't the problem, that weaker signal might not be strong enough to keep you in deep sleep all the way through the night,
Yeah.
especially by 3 a.m.
So you're more vulnerable.
Exactly. You're just more vulnerable to disruptions. By 3 or 4 a.m., your already lower melatonin levels might just not be enough to anchor you in deep sleep. So small things that maybe wouldn't have woken you before, a little noise outside, the heat clicking on, maybe even a vivid dream now, they're enough to push you over the edge into being fully awake. That stay asleep signal is just too faint.
Okay, that makes sense. So if our natural signal is weaker, what's the best way to protect the melatonin we do have? How do we strengthen that nighttime signal using our environment?
We absolutely have to protect it. It's precious. We need to send the strongest possible signals to our brain that it is definitely nighttime and that deep sleep is the priority. I like to call it creating a sleep sanctuary.
A sleep sanctuary. I like that.
And the two biggest enemies of your natural melatonin production are basically light and warmth.
Light and warmth. Okay.
So first, your room needs to be as dark as humanly possible. I mean, pitch black if you can manage it. Even a tiny bit of light from a digital clock, a phone charger light, light leaking under the door or around the blinds, that can be enough to suppress your melatonin production significantly.
Wow, even tiny amounts.
Yes. And second, crucially, your room needs to be cool. Your body naturally needs to drop its core temperature by a couple of degrees to get into and stay in deep sleep.
So cranking up the heat is bad for sleep.
It really is. The ideal temperature range for most people's bedrooms is somewhere between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 15 to 19 Celsius. That coolness helps signal the brain it's time for deep, restorative sleep.
A cool, dark cave, basically.
That's a perfect image. Do you have a story for this one too? Someone who made their room a sanctuary.
Yes, I worked with a client, Mary. She described herself as a very light sleeper. Woke up frequently, often blaming tiny noises or disturbances.
She made just 2 changes based on these ideas. First, she got a really comfortable soft sleep mask, ensured total darkness no matter what.
Blocks everything out.
Exactly. And second, she started deliberately turning her thermostat down by 2 degrees before bed, aiming for that cool zone, around 65 degrees. She told me later it felt like sleeping in a quiet, dark, peaceful cave. That's exactly how she put it.
Wow.
And she started experiencing the deepest, most sustained sleep she'd had in years, all from just those 2 simple, intentional changes to her environment.
That's fantastic. It really drives home how much our surroundings matter. So putting it all together, it's really not just one single thing, is it? Waking up at 3 a.m. could be that cortisol clock being off, or the blood sugar instability, or maybe the melatonin signal fading, or maybe even a mix of them.
That's exactly right. It often can be a combination. But the main point, the really hopeful point, is that
Yeah.
these aren't just problems you have to suffer through. They are, like we said at the start, messages from your body, signals. And now you have a much better understanding of what those messages might mean. And even better, you have concrete, actionable things you can try. You've got the morning sunlight for the cortisol reset, you've got the balanced bedtime snack for blood sugar stability, and you have the cool, dark sleep sanctuary to protect your melatonin. This knowledge really puts the power back in your hands. You can actually influence your sleep. You can be an active participant in your own well-being, not just sort of a victim of bad sleep.
Thank you. That's incredibly helpful. It really does shift the feeling from being frustrated and stuck to feeling like there's hope and things I can actually do. Before we finish up, what's one final thought you'd like to leave our listener with today? Something to mull over.
Yeah. I'd invite everyone listening to try cultivating a sense of maybe curiosity towards their own body, especially around sleep. So instead of getting instantly frustrated or annoyed when you wake up in the middle of the night, maybe just take a quiet moment and gently ask your body, what are you trying to tell me right now? Just that little shift towards curiosity, that willingness to listen, I think that's often the very beginning of wisdom when it comes to our health and finding our way back to deep, restful sleep.
That's a wonderful thought, approaching it with curiosity instead of frustration. And for everyone listening, building on that, my question for you to reflect on is this. Thinking about these 3 main reasons we explored that mistimed cortisol clock, the midnight blood sugar crash, or the fading melatonin signal, which one resonates most with you? Which one do you suspect might be playing the biggest role in your particular sleep experience right now? Something to think about as you consider maybe trying some of these ideas. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, we wish you truly deep rest and peaceful nights ahead.